Have you ever smiled on the outside while waging a war on the inside? Has it ever happened to you that someone asked if you were okay and you automatically answered yes, even though your mind was tired, your heart heavy, and your soul silent? Because the truth is, there are pains that no one sees. There are thoughts that a person learns to hide so well that, over time, they themselves begin to believe that they can carry everything alone. And perhaps this is one of the greatest emotional and spiritual dangers of our generation. Many people have been taught that feeling is a sign of weakness, that crying demonstrates fragility, that talking about emotions, anxiety, fear, or sadness is something to be avoided. So the person continues living, working, smiling, posting photos, socializing with everyone, while inside they accumulate emotions that have never truly been dealt with. Have you ever experienced this? Because keeping everything to yourself seems like strength at first, but after a while, the emotional silence begins to take its toll. The mind gets tired. The thoughts don't stop. Anxiety increases. The heart loses its peace. And spiritually, something slowly begins to fade. The scariest thing is that it happens silently. No one notices when someone starts to suffocate inside. Sometimes, the person keeps going to church, keeps talking about faith, keeps trying to appear strong, but there's a battle raging in their mind that they never share with anyone. And while they repress emotions, pain, and fears, it transforms into emotional burden, mental exhaustion, and even spiritual distance. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. The Bible reveals something very profound about this. Men and women who carried anguish, fears, and inner conflicts also face moments of emotional exhaustion. And one of the strongest things we perceive in Scripture is that God never asked human beings to pretend not to feel pain. Even so, many people live exactly like that today. They hide what they feel because they're afraid of being judged, afraid of appearing weak, afraid of bothering others. So they stay silent. They swallow their tears. They hold on to traumas. They repress emotions. And little by little, their souls become overwhelmed. But ignored emotions don't disappear. They accumulate in silence. And the problem is that what gets trapped inside the mind often begins to affect everything around it. Relationships, faith, the way one sees life, and even the connection with God. Some people begin to emotionally distance themselves from everyone without realizing it. Others become cold. Others are constantly tired. And there are those who can no longer even explain what they feel because they have spent so much time hiding their emotions that they have lost the ability to understand their own pain. Perhaps you know someone like that. Or maybe that person is you. And you know what makes this even more dangerous? It's that there are people suffering in silence while trying to convince the world that they are okay. People who pray, but remain wounded. People who help everyone, but never ask for help. People who maintain an appearance of strength while crumbling inside. The human mind was not created to endure accumulated suffering without consequence. And spiritually speaking, when someone keeps everything to themselves for too long, an invisible wear and tear begins to occur in the soul. Peace diminishes. Hope weakens. The heart closes. And what began as emotional silence can end up transforming into spiritual loneliness. But there's something almost no one realizes about this. And that's exactly where everything starts to change. And perhaps one of the hardest parts of this struggle is precisely feeling that no one understands what's happening inside you, because there are emotional pains that don't show on your face. There are internal battles that happen in silence, while life goes on normally on the outside. And when someone spends a lot of time keeping everything to themselves, there comes a point when even asking for help seems impossible. That's why I really want to hear from you here in the comments. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has touched you the most so far. Have you ever experienced moments where you needed to hide your feelings? Have you ever felt like you were carrying an emotional burden alone? Your experience can help other people who are watching this video in silence, thinking they're the only ones going through this. And I truly believe that when we share what we feel, something begins to change within us, because silence isolates, but connection heals. Also, take this opportunity to like this video. It may seem like a simple thing, but it helps this message reach more people who may be facing anxiety, emotional distress, mental fatigue, or spiritual conflicts without being able to talk about it with anyone. Sometimes, a video appears exactly when someone needs to hear certain words. And if you enjoy this type of content that combines emotion, psychology, and the Bible in a profound yet simple and human way, subscribe to the channel. Because every week there are videos designed precisely to strengthen the mind, faith, and heart of those who are trying to stay strong, even while carrying internal battles that almost no one sees. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this type of content. And honestly, creating this space only makes sense because there are people on the other side seeking to better understand their own pain, their own minds, and also their own spiritual lives. Because there's something many people still haven't realized. Bottling up emotions doesn't just affect the heart. It can also slowly transform the way a person thinks, feels, reacts, and even connects with God. And that's exactly what we need to talk about now. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because many people haven't realized that they learned to hide their emotions from a very young age. It wasn't something that happened suddenly. It was a silent process, built up little by little, through phrases that seemed normal, but ended up completely shaping the way they deal with their own pain. Swallow your tears. You need to be strong. Don't bother anyone with your problems. And without realizing it, many people grew up believing that feeling was wrong. So the child learns to be silent, learns to hide sadness, learns to disguise fear, learns to smile even when hurt inside. And the most dangerous thing is that, over time, this seems to work. The person can actually continue living, continues working, studying, caring for others, making decisions, following a routine, but emotionally, they begin to carry an invisible weight. Because repressed emotions don't disappear. They accumulate. And this completely changes the inner workings of a human mind. Some people think they can control everything simply by ignoring their feelings. But the mind doesn't work that way. The mind was created to process emotions, not to store endless suffering. When someone holds on to fear, anguish, frustration, and sadness for too long, it starts to find other ways to come out. Sometimes it appears as anxiety. Other times as constant irritation. In some cases, it comes as racing thoughts, mental fatigue, difficulty sleeping, or that heavy feeling that never goes away. And the problem is that many people try to resolve emotional exhaustion simply by becoming busier. People fill their schedules, overload their routines, distract their minds, and live constantly rushing around. Because deep down they believe that if they stop for a few minutes, they will have to confront things within themselves that they can no longer ignore. And perhaps this is one of the most difficult hidden truths to accept. There are people who are tired not from an excess of tasks, but from an excess of unresolved emotions. Have you ever noticed how some people live on autopilot? They respond, "Everything's fine," without even thinking. They avoid deep conversations. They run from moments of silence. And little by little, they begin to disconnect emotionally, even from the people they love most. Not because they're cold, but because they're exhausted inside. Some people are surrounded by people, but are completely alone emotionally. And this affects more people than many realize. It affects relationships. It affects decisions. It affects how one perceives their own identity. It affects faith. Because when someone lives hiding what they feel for too long, there comes a time when even prayer changes. The person can no longer speak sincerely, not even before God. They begin to repeat automatic words, while their soul remains suffocated. And there's a very powerful saying about this. Those who constantly hide their pain from others often begin to hide it even from God. But God never asked for masks. When we look at the Bible, we notice something striking. Men considered spiritually strong also face profound emotional anguish. David, for example, wrote psalms that reveal sadness, fear, affliction, and emotional exhaustion. On many occasions, he didn't try to appear strong before God. He openly expressed his pain. And in Psalm 32, there's a very profound revelation about this. David shows that while he kept everything inside, his strength diminished. Look how relevant this is today. Centuries ago, this connection between hidden emotions, inner exhaustion, and even physical suffering already existed. This shows something extremely important. The emotional and the spiritual go hand in hand much more than people imagine. Some people try to focus only on their spiritual appearance, while emotionally they are broken inside. And the impact of this appears gradually. First comes exhaustion, then discouragement, then a feeling of emptiness, then difficulty feeling peace. And in many cases, the person even begins to distance themselves from their own faith because they don't understand what is happening within them. But do you know what may have confused a lot of people for years? The idea that being spiritual means not showing emotions. But that was never taught by Jesus Christ. Jesus wept. Jesus was distressed. Jesus expressed pain. In crucial moments, he did not feign emotional indifference. This completely shatters the false notion that vulnerability is weakness. In fact, acknowledging emotions can be one of the greatest signs of emotional and spiritual maturity. Being spiritual doesn't mean pretending you don't feel anything. And maybe someone needs to hear this today because they've spent years trying to appear strong all the time. But nobody can hold back repressed emotions forever. At some point, it all explodes. Sometimes it explodes as an unexpected emotional crisis. Sometimes as pent-up anger. Sometimes as such deep discouragement that the person loses the will to continue. In some cases, it comes as emotional withdrawal, isolation, or even a silent collapse that no one around can understand. And when that happens, many people think, what happened to me? But often, the problem didn't start today. It just became impossible to hide. This is one of the greatest revelations about emotional health. What we ignore internally continues to influence our lives behind the scenes. It influences thoughts. It influences choices. It influences behaviors. It influences how we react to people and even to God. Therefore, the path to emotional healing doesn't begin by faking strength. It begins by acknowledging the truth. And perhaps that's the hardest part of the journey. Acknowledge that you are tired. Recognizing that you need to speak up. Acknowledging that there is accumulated pain. Recognizing that the heart cannot bear the burden of everything alone. But there is hope in all of this. Because God doesn't demand emotional perfection to approach someone. God doesn't expect a person to hide their wounds in order to deserve care. On the contrary, in many moments in the Bible, it is precisely when someone stops hiding their pain that the transformation process begins. And that changes everything. Because emotional healing doesn't happen through repression. It begins with sincerity, through genuine prayer, through honest conversations, through the courage to admit feelings without guilt, and also through the understanding that seeking emotional support doesn't diminish anyone's faith. Healing emotions is not a lack of faith. It can be the very beginning of restoration. Perhaps you've spent years saying, I can do it alone, while your soul silently cried out for help. Perhaps you've tried to carry emotional burdens without sharing them with anyone, believing that this was maturity, strength, or resilience. But there's a huge difference between being strong and living emotionally closed off. You don't have to carry everything alone to prove you're strong. And when a person finally understands this, something begins to change within them in a much deeper way than they ever imagined. Comment below, this makes sense to me. And perhaps, after everything we discussed today, the biggest reflection is realizing how many people are trying to appear strong, while inside they just need a safe place to breathe, talk, and be understood. Sometimes, transformation begins precisely the moment someone stops hiding their own pain and understands that they don't have to carry it all alone. If this video spoke to you in any way, comment below, I needed to hear this. I want to know you made it to the end. And honestly, reading your comments shows that there's a whole community living this journey of faith, emotions, and restoration together. If this content helped you, subscribe to the channel for more videos about emotions in the light of the Bible, faith, and emotional health. The idea behind this space is precisely to bring deep, human, and truthful conversations about what many people feel, but almost never manage to put into words. Also, leave a like on the video. This helps the channel continue to bring this type of message to people who may be silently facing emotional battles right now. And there's a video over here that really complements this topic. Click and continue watching it. I think it can help you understand even more some things that might be happening inside you without anyone noticing.